was still looking for joy and peace out there somewhere. Who can bring this to me? Tanya, if she could just love me enough to make me feel okay, or if the boys could just love me enough to make me feel okay, or in my job, or whatever else I was grasping at to feel like I was wanted and I was loved and I was okay. Even though I had been in the arms of God and felt perfect, but I was still looking for it for an outside source. In fact, I was wandering around thinking, where's all that love I felt here? Where will I ever find it? And the key was when I finally looked within myself instead of looking out there. When I finally realized, oh, to love unconditionally, I get to love myself unconditionally. And when that happened, the healing began. Because I was never going to find it out there. It had to be felt within. And even in my Christian upbringing, this Jesus fellow said, the kingdom of God is within you. Don't look out there for it. And I began to maybe grasp what that meant a little more, that it is within us. We are divine beings. We do have the power to create our own situations if we embrace ourselves that way and do so.
I do have hope for this world, even in times like this, because there are a lot of people who have love in them. It may just be contagious and it may affect the other person, because love is actually proven to heal. Love always wins because it's where we came from. Everyone has talents. Everybody is useful for something. Somebody might be an artist. They can draw so well. Me, I was really into music. So I would try to use that as a positive thing to try to help people through tough times. Maybe they can listen to my music to get stressed out. Somebody might be a good cook. We all need food. You know, they have chefs, the most professional chefs. That's a talent. That's a gift. Somebody might be a great speaker. Everybody has talents, and everybody's useful in this world.
They were so full of life, and these shelves, on all these shelves, they went as high as the highest stars. And there was presents, gifts, if you will, like at Christmas, and not one gift was the same, not one. And I remember knowing to look out to the galaxy to my left, looking as far as I could past all the stars and planets, as far as it could go, and the shelves kept on going with gifts on them. And then I remember knowing to look to my right, and I looked behind me to my right, and I kept on looking as far as I could, and the shelves kept on going with gifts. Not one gift was the same, and there were so many. And God said to me, Erica, in life, I give each and every one of you gifts, and they're all different, because that is part of my plan. And he said, when you were born, I gave you the gift. I gave you the gift of patience, and I gave you the gift of beauty. And I'm such a rule follower, I can't believe I argued with God. I didn't argue in a mean way, but when he said that, I found myself communicating and thinking the thought, oh no, God, that can't be right. You didn't give me the gift of beauty, because you see, I had made some very bad choices in my life. And that's what resulted in me taking that pill, a diet pill. And I never thought I was good enough. I was always trying to be everything that man thought was good enough. And instead, what happened is I stifled who God really made me to be. And he stopped me and he said, Erica, again, I gave you the gift of patience. And I gave you the gift of beauty, and in that very moment, I knew what that meant. That beauty came from within my heart. And it's an extension of all of us, the love that we carry in our hearts. And I looked at all of the gifts on the shelves, and I knew how significant and beautiful and wonderful each and every one of these gifts that he gives all of us are. And in life, he said, he has more gifts for each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. And all we have to do to get those gifts is ask. But then we have to be able to be quiet and listen to receive them.
You are all precious and beloved. Don't ever forget that. And everything that you do does matter to somebody else. Find out whatever it is that you do well and do it. Give to the world, give to your neighbors, give to others, because you have it within you. Everybody does. That special talent, that special gift.
That part of my mission is to share with people that we are so loved. That's all there is. We are so loved. The judgment and punishment are things that humans do. We judge ourselves, we judge each other, we punish ourselves, we punish each other. God doesn't do that. God just loves us, no matter what we do. God knows how hard it is here. God admires us for being willing to come here and give it a go. We have so much tremendous support, we just can't see it. But if you tune in, you can feel all the love around you all the time. Remember to ask for help, because it is always there. It is always there. But you have to ask, because they're not going to interfere with us, because we have free will. So it's all about love. And sometimes it's really hard to be loving in the world that we've created. But every little bit that we can try to do, every little bit of trying to create heaven on earth is so important and has such a ripple effect. We are all magnificent, divine, powerful creators, and we need to step into that and recognize it and be love.
The most wonderful thing we can do is to love ourselves through it. You know, trust and love ourselves that we are cared for, and you will pop right out. You stand in fear, you stand in worry, you stand in judgment on yourself, and it's going to be painful. And there's no reason for that. We should go joyfully, you know? As the creator of Apple said, wow, Steve Jobs, wow, wow. Be in awe of it, because it is awesome. It's amazing.
God, as hard as it's to accept, there's nothing, as I said, there's nothing that we can do that would make God love us less. And that sounds hard, because people have done some pretty bad things throughout history. It really comes down to judging ourselves and being able to forgive ourselves. Once we understand the gravity of what we've done when our time comes. We're supposed to be afraid of God. Not a single person who's had an NDE, not unless their opinion's biased by their religious beliefs, not a single person that's NDE, I'm sure you've seen this yourself, will tell you that God hates you or God doesn't love you. Like, you never hear that. So why is it thousands upon thousands of witness accounts, not a single time has that been mentioned, that God doesn't love you? And that, I struggle to reconcile that. So what this entire experience has done and the research has done is confirm that. It confirms, as I said before, that it's a really important statement. It's kind of like my motto. There is nothing you could do. And God said this, so an angel, and we use the word angel, they're just other beings. But an angel said to someone, or at least they thought it was an angel, there's nothing you can do that would make God love you less. And actually, this particular individual just felt low about themselves. Like, I don't love myself. Does God love me? Yeah, of course he loves you. Insane? Of course he does. So that truth, I think, is the most important thing for me. And as humans, we struggle to accept that because, you know, of course, you're going to hate someone that's hurt you or hurt someone in your family. Of course you are. It's normal to feel that way. But that's what makes God, and at least once we've got through our lives and we're back in heaven, that's what makes us, at least from an emotional perspective, that's why God is superior. You know, it's that key thing. It's like there's nothing that you could do that would make him love you less.
I could also perceive that all reality, all existence was emanating from a source of light and life and love, and that all physical reality reflected this life and light and love to whatever extent it's possible. At this point, I became so enchanted that I was beyond being, I think, a self. I simply was, and it was as if I were singing my own note in this grand symphony of life and existence that's the earth and all of us. And I began to sing, I am. And it was not a statement of ego or self. It was really a statement of absolute love, that by my being, I simply was expressing absolute love and connectedness and unity and harmony with all of existence. And I was adding my particular and absolutely unique note to this grand song of life that reverberated throughout all existence.
Why is it so important to remember to love ourselves, or remember that we are loved? It's important because when you don't love yourself, you don't allow yourself to express who you are. When you don't love yourself, you believe that everybody else is better than you. Everybody else is more important than you. Everybody else's message is better than yours. That was me. That was who I am. I would make myself small so others could be big. I would dim my light so others could shine. That was me. I would say yes when I meant no. It was easier to disappoint myself than it was to disappoint other people. When I was in the other realm, and when I realized that I was pure essence, I was a facet of God, that's when I understood that if I don't love myself, then I don't allow myself to express who I am. What I'm doing is I am not allowing a facet of God to express itself through me. I am denying that facet of God from expressing itself through me here in this life. I have come here to allow that facet of God to express itself, and yet I am denying it.
Doesn't matter how successful you've been, how much money you've made, how many kids you've had, you know, what kind of a name you've made for yourself. What matters is, did I touch people? Did I allow them to touch me? Was I living a life of emotional well-being? You know, was I celebrating myself? Was I proud of me? You know, none of us get enough kudos in life. From our parents, none of us got loved the way we wanted to be loved. And that's the way it was set up. But we have the ability to love ourselves and make up the difference. And that's part of what our job is, you know, to be the highest vision of ourselves that we can be. Imagine what the world would be like if we were carrying that energy, as opposed to the insecure little people that we become. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be people living without basic necessities. There wouldn't be strife. There would be love. There would be support. There would be passion in a good way. And that's what we're working towards, isn't it? To be the best and highest form of ourselves.
One thing that is fascinating is that all of the patients who go through this tell us that there is one thing that comes up to them as the most important feature in their life in these reviews. They say that it doesn't have anything to do with earthly success. No one asks them about their financial well-being or how much power they've had or any of these other things that our society suggests that we should be paying so much attention to. Every single person has told me that what they were faced with there was the question of how they had learned to love and whether they had put this love into practice in their lives.
He said, love the person that you're with. And I said, okay, great, I'll do that. No problem. What do you want me to do? And he said, that I just told you what I want you to do, love the person you're with. And I said, yeah, but after I do that, then what do you really want me to do? And he said, no, that is what I want you to do, is love the person you're with. And I said, well, that's, you know, that's simple enough. That's easy. I'll do that. And he said, oh, really? Well, that's what I want you to do. And he said, that's enough. And I said, how is it enough? And he said, if you do that, he said, you'll change the world.
It's almost universal that near-death experiencers say that.
Yeah.
They say, I know that my life has a purpose. I know that life has a meaning. It is a big anecdote to kind of the bleak existentialism that was, so common, say, in the mid-20th century. That point of view simply is not maintainable in the light of the near-death experience. The sense of purpose, the sense of meaning is so much a part of this experience that it cannot be extracted, nor can it be, it can't be doubted. It's an inextricable part of the near-death experience, and people who study it will understand that if those experiences give us a sense of meaning, then even those of us who haven't had the experience can be buoyed up by the fact that there is meaning and purpose to our world.
I've heard this said all weekend, and I thought it was really unique. It said, "This is not your time, you must return." I said, no way. And I argued. And I perceived this light to be God. So I argued with God. And I said, no, I've got a family here I never knew. I'm feeling loved like I've never felt I was loved. I never knew when we're walking this life that we're loved. We are loved. I never knew that. And I didn't want to go back to that separation. I didn't want to go back to that body. And that body I knew was still in the ocean, being tumbled and tossed, was very broken, and was just cold. It was not something I wanted. Cold and confining. I didn't want to go back to that. I thought I presented a pretty good case. You can see I'm here. The light spoke one more time and said, no, you must return. You have a purpose. Oh man, that word purpose just, went into my being. And when you're in that light, you're connected to this consciousness that's so much more than just yourself. You're connected. To me, it felt like you're connected to all the souls that ever were and all the souls that ever will be. And so you have this immense knowing. And I understood that purpose. And all the time, I'm thinking, God, I was in that light, and I understood this purpose. Purpose. Now I'm here. What is this purpose?
How do I find my purpose in life? I have a very simple solution. As I told you, I'm a simple person, and so I like very simple solutions. Your only purpose is to be yourself. That's all. And all you have to do is be as you can be, shine your light as brightly as you can, and your purpose will unfold before you. Just allow life to unfold before you. And it's that simple. And it's much more important to be yourself than it is to even be positive.
The purpose of life is to give our lives purpose. To give our lives the purpose of life, the meaning in life is to give your life meaning. And what is that meaning? What is truly meaningful, Is it the physical accumulation of things and awards and distinctions and whatnot, or is it truly meaningful to serve humankind and to grow spiritually? I think that's really what we're here for.
The world is like God's garden, and God made you and everyone else to bloom in that garden and to be beautiful. And God made every one of you unique and special to be beautiful in your own way.
It's pretty easy for me because it popped into my head like almost the moment that the light absorbed me. It was to experience unconditional love, to love unconditionally, and to experience accepting unconditional love from other people. So, and by unconditional love, I truly unconditional love to me means I'm loving you without expectation or exception. It makes no difference what you do to me. It makes no difference what happens. If I truly love you unconditionally, I love you because you are a piece of the light, which makes you a piece of me. So why would I not love everyone? Because everyone is me and I am everyone. There's no reason not to love.
All we have to do is just love God with all our heart, and the way we do that is love each other unconditionally, because God is in every one of us. So when I'm loving you, I'm loving God. So if I'm not loving you, I'm not loving God. And so love God with all our heart, love each other like that, learn how to love unconditionally, and take care of this planet. If we all did that, we'd have heaven on earth right now.
I remember a story a friend of mine told of her father, who had been a career Marine, this very serious old guy, but he was dying. She was sitting at his bedside, holding his hand. He was asleep. And at one point he opened his eyes and he looked at her very alert, and he said, "You know what? It's all about love, isn't it?" And it has to come like that. You can't tell people that. You can't preach it to them. In my own experience, it was that kind of a thing. I was very depressed. I was a very unhappy young person. I just felt that nothing was going to happen. I had spent my life trying to please other people, and no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't able to please them. They were always critical. And then I had this sudden insight that said, you know, you've got to stop trying to please other people, because even if you do, it's not you that they're going to accept. They're accepting false face that you're putting on, and that's not going to make you happy. Wouldn't you be better off just being who you really are? And then if people don't like you, they don't like you, but the people who do like you really like you. We spend so much of our lives reacting to this terrorizing threat of what will people think. But pleasing somebody by being false is not love. And demanding that somebody behave a certain way so you would love them, that's not love either. Love is being who you are and accepting other people for who they are.
Now here's what happens when you love yourself. When you love yourself and you fill yourself up, you have a lot more to give other people, because you cannot give people what you yourself don't have. When you give and give and give, but you're empty inside, and you just keep giving because maybe for some reason you've learned that it's selfish to love yourself, it's selfish to give yourself, and it's selfless to give. You've got to be loving, you've got to keep being generous with your love and doing for other people, and you keep doing and doing and doing, and then imagine that you become drained, which is very common, which is what I did. I became drained to the point I got cancer. Now imagine you start to become drained and tired of giving, and you realize that people aren't giving back to you. And now you're feeling a little bit needy, like you need some support, but it's not coming back to you. What do you feel? You feel resentment towards the people you've been giving and giving who aren't giving back to you. And when you feel resentment for them, what happens is that it makes your love for them conditional. And that is the start of a dysfunctional relationship. And that's why we have so many relationships that are breaking down. Now, you imagine if you allow yourself to fulfill yourself, you allow yourself to love yourself enough that you allow yourself to find your joy. Now, people who love themselves, who allow themselves to find their joy and feel joyful about life, are the most fun and generous people to be around. And when you love yourself to the point where you are feeling fulfilled, self-actualized, then the love that comes from you is unconditional, because you don't need anything back from anybody. The love you give is pure and unconditional. And that is the most important lesson I learned.
I was told very clearly what our purpose is, and your purpose is to love. It's that simple. Hard to pull off cleanly, but you are here to love. And I'm not just talking about the warm fuzzies. Most people, when you say the word love, they think warm fuzzies. Love is a far more multi-dimensional, complex thing than just the warm fuzzies. It's very obvious. Everything is made out of love. Made out of it. Like, this is love. This is an expression of God's love. And if you don't like the word God, use whatever word you want.
I personally have no big plan other than to be loving. The only fly in the ointment is that I thought it was going to be easy, and it turns out to be the hardest thing that I've ever done. Because it sounds so simple, but it's really difficult. It's easy. It's like easy for me to love my mother because she was a really nice woman and she was a very loving woman. So not hard to love someone who's really good and really loving. But what do you do with someone who's difficult or actually really nasty? I mean, those are hard people to love. And what does it mean to love someone? I mean, sometimes to love someone means you need to incarcerate them. Yeah. And that's not like a lot of fun. Sometimes loving someone means you have to put as much distance between them and you as possible and tell them to never call you. You know, that's not a lot of fun. I mean, loving people sounds so simple, but it's very difficult.
The other interesting thing you'll find that happens when you learn to love yourself is that you will find that other people love you more when you love yourself more. You will also find that other people respect you as much as you respect yourself. Other people value you as much as you value yourself. And the more that you love yourself, the more love you have to give, and also you'll find the more other people love you. There's really no downside, and I cannot figure out why this is such a huge secret. I just can't figure, because there's no downside. People say that it's egotistical to love yourself. No, the ones who are the most egotistical or narcissistic are the ones who don't love themselves, and they're overcompensating. It's the other way around. The people who love themselves are the most generous and joyful people to be around. And people have asked me, well, how much love for self is too much? There's no such thing as too much. Our planet suffers from too little self-love. And when we love ourselves, we stop judging ourselves so harshly. We become kinder to ourselves. And when you are kinder to yourself, you're kinder to other people. When you stop judging yourself, you stop judging other people. People who we see as very critical, judgmental, they're actually even more critical and judgmental inwardly towards themselves. What you are inside is what you express outside. So the more you love yourself inside, the more you'll show that outside. So that is really the number one key thing. The second thing that I learned, which is really important, is to live your life fearlessly. Be yourself fearlessly. It's really important to be fearless. And what do I mean by fearless? I mean that stop fearing things like what other people think of you. Most people don't really care. I used to worry so much about what people thought of me. I was, as I said, a people pleaser. So I feared everything. I feared what people thought of me. I feared not being good enough. I feared failing. I used to treat myself like a doormat. I would put myself last. I would always put other people ahead of me. When I would do things for people, I didn't do it from a place of love because I didn't do it because I wanted to do it for them. I did it because I feared what they would think of me if I didn't do it. So every choice, every decision I made came from a place of fear, not from a place of love.
Even the most angry person needs love in their life. I needed love in my life, and that's what I didn't have, so that's what caused my suicide, was feeling loveless.
People need to realize that perhaps getting to death is not going to be a great fun thing to do. No one wants to look forward to death. But you can look forward to what's on the other side. It is such a beautiful feeling. I feel that we have such an amazing experience awaiting us, and that we don't end. Our consciousness continues on. So even though we shed that wetsuit of a body, you have a beautiful outcome awaiting you after the point of death. So don't fear it. Look forward to it. Change your life to also include a lot of love and a lot of helping others and focusing on good things, because those people who've had a near-death experience and gone beyond mine, that had a life review, often report that they feel what the other person felt when they were dealing with people throughout their life. So I think that all of us should kind of aim towards a good life review. So do good things. Go out there and have a happy life. Enjoy it. Enjoy every day, and find ways to be happy, because that's what we're here for. That's what our experience is for.
I believe that we are beautiful spiritual beings who are here for a very, very brief time in these clay vessels to learn lessons for our souls and to learn how to love one another better, to learn how to treat each other the way that God wants us to treat each other. And then I think we move forward. I believe that we are here with great purpose and on purpose. Do not think for a minute that you're an accident. And you were born to who you were born to. And you were with people that you are with now as a great divine plan. We learn from our families a lot sometimes that we don't want to learn. But they are teaching us as hopefully we are teaching them. I believe we're here to take care of the earth too, and all the animals, the plants, everything. And when we do that, my patients teach me that it's not about getting an award. It's not about getting a pat on the back or applause. It's because it's our duty and a really wonderful opportunity. You see, all those who tell me of their near-death experiences say they want to contribute in any way to make a difference in whatever their life has left for them here, in whatever little town they live in, whatever community, whatever business they're doing. And they love sharing their story, and they don't care whether you believe them or not. That does not matter to them. That's not a big deal to them. Doesn't matter, because they're safe in their stories. They love their stories, and it's all good for them. And I never tire of hearing another one.
If I only had a year to live, what would I do? If I only had a year to live, what would I do? And when I ask myself that question, I often write, then, what would I do? And that gives me direction and clarity. Okay, this is what I need to focus on. The other thing that I ask myself is, if I died today, what would my biggest regret be? Now, if I walked out of here today and I got hit by a car, what would I regret? For years, for me, one of those things was, if I die before I get my book done, I'll really regret that. And it motivated me. That question motivated me. And the final question that I ask is, How do I leave people? Think about this morning when you left your house, or the last time you left loved ones. How did you leave them? Did you tell them that you loved them? Did you hug them? Did you argue? Because if that's how you left them, they're going to carry that, as Garrett so wisely said, for eternity. They're going to carry that argument. As a grief counselor, I know that how people leave each other can be very traumatic later. So pay attention to those urges and tell people how much they mean to you. Author Norman Cousins says, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside of us while we live. So pay attention to what you desire. Garrett spoke beautifully to this lesson at 17. He said, don't leave anything unsaid. Tell people what they mean to you. Take risks. Do things you've never done before. Have a tremendous amount of fun. And don't worry about the future.
But the reality we're living towards is a lot bigger than we can imagine. But that's also been a long tradition. The Catholic Church often mentions these things through saints who said it's completely different. And that's also been my experience. It's completely different. It's a lot better. And nothing can go wrong. If I want to summarize this whole jumble, we're talking about 20 years of thinking and processing. If I could be able to summarize this in one sentence, a sentence that carries weight, other sentences, however, seem very weird to me afterwards. Nothing can go wrong. And what does this mean? Your life? Of course I know. Due to my job, I'm confronted with cases where things go wrong badly, and that there are things that cannot be answered. That you might ask yourself, where is God? There cannot be a God. Thinking about God as a person, well, that's all very difficult, but in the end, I can still sum it up as nothing can go wrong. And this is life-changing.
So God swept me and showed me all of earth. And in showing me all of earth, I saw that the length of my life was the wink of an eye. And timelessness, time has no meaning. And I saw every human being on earth individualized. And I saw them loved in the same way that I was loved in heaven. And God said to me, in the way that I love you now, you know that I've always loved you. And it was self-evident to me that God's love is the size of the cosmos, the billions and billions of years that the universe has existed. And the greatest love I'd ever experienced in my life was a speck of dust in comparison. The immensity and infinite love of God is unbelievably overwhelming. And that's the love I'd always been loved with. And I knew that to be true. And I knew that every single human being was loved in the same way. But the difference between the human beings and me was that they couldn't see. They were still in the world with a veil, not knowing the immensity of love. Couldn't know it. Not built into the structure, but still loved nonetheless. And God showed me my parents in particular. And I could see their faces and I could see their suffering. And God said to me, all will be well with them, because all has always been well, and all will be well, and all is well, because I love them. And you know this to be true, and I knew it to be true, that in the end my parents would no longer suffer, because in death they would be immersed in the ocean of love.
If I can do something that makes a difference in the world with the catastrophe that happened, then that makes it worth it. then that makes it in some ways okay, or at least a little bit better. I mean, there's so much division in the world. Everything teaches us that we're separate. You're of that political party, I'm of this one. You're a woman and I'm a man, or you're gay and I'm straight, or you're black and I'm white, or I mean, there's all this segregation, all this division. The one thing that was so profound in my experience was the oneness, realizing that we are connected, that I am you and you are me, and that we're really here together. We're all in this together. There's no stepchildren in this family of God. And also the love I felt. I have embraced that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love can heal everything, and it can heal anything if we can simply come together. And in many ways, too, I embrace that as well. You know, I used to live in a fear that the world was going to end or God was going to come and fix it. Now I'm a firm believer that it's up to us, that we're divine, powerful beings. And that if we can embrace that love that is within each of us by loving ourselves and then loving others, that's the ripple effect. That's what creates heaven right here. You know, there's nowhere to go or anything to be. It's to really embrace and love each other here, and suddenly that beautiful place becomes the ground under our own feet. The oneness, the connection that we have. And it doesn't matter who said it. There's been many masters, you know, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, I don't care which one. I mean, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, it doesn't matter. The homeless guy on the street, I mean, we are all masters. You will never encounter someone that's not a magnificent, glorious, divine being. I mean, there's this whole great big universe. Universe. I love that because una means one and verse means song. There's this one big song. And each and every one of us have a part to play in that, a part to sing. And I sing at a tone that's far different than yours. And every tone comes together in the perfect melody, the perfect harmony. And it's already happening. We don't see it because we see ourselves as separate, but if we realized and stepped into the oneness that we already are and sang our song so brightly and shined as we do, it's like the stars. Everyone has a different twinkle, but when you look at that Milky Way and that galaxy, you say, wow, look how beautiful it is collectively. Look how beautiful the stars are individually. And that's how we are. We're already that. There's nothing to become. I mean, yeah, if it's so good there, why be here? I deal with a lot of people who struggle with suicide or who have lost children to suicide, and I have no judgment of that. There were many times during my struggles that I thought I'd rather just go. Of course, I had a son here that was keeping me pretty grounded. But I think this is the big game. It's like we can't experience what we want to experience when everything's light and beauty and peace. It's almost like we wanted to have the opposite. We wanted to experience what we're not so we could finally embrace what we truly are. I'll go back to my old football days where they would draw it on the chalkboard and all the X's and O's and everything looked perfect, and yet you never knew until you got on the field and smelled the grass and had someone hit into you that, you know, what it was like. And I believe life is like that. We wanted to come and have the experience because our soul would expand. And while we're here, we just think, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I mean, this is too hard. But our higher self, our higher knowledge thinks, yeah, but that's why you came. I mean, it's easy for me to sit in a beautiful house and say life is good. And there's people that suffer, struggling. I mean, I'm working with some folks that work with human trafficking. I mean, kids being taken and put into the sex trade or whatever else. There are things in the world that are heart-wrenching. And so how do we look at those and say it's all in divine order? How does this make sense? I embrace it as a perfect opportunity to be love. How can I shine light in dark places? How can I embrace things and make a difference? And I realize I'm just one. I'm just one guy, but gosh, can I make life better for somebody today? Can I do something for someone? And by doing it for the one, you're doing it for the all. Even when I raise my own vibration, if I can go meditate for a minute and get at peace or forgive, something, even if it's forgiving myself. I forgive others very easily. The hard one to forgive for me is myself. That ripples out. It ripples out and affects the consciousness of all of humanity, but it comes down to choice. We live in fear. We're so conditioned with judgment or religion or even our parents or whoever said, well, you're a bad boy, you don't deserve that, that's not coming. Well, you've got to earn that, all these things that we have conditioned in our mind, when in reality we are deserving. We are worthy, always. We're of great worth. And the earth is so beautiful. I mean, now, after having the experiences I had, I used to wonder about miracles. Gosh, how do you create a miracle? And yet now, I can go out and watch a sunrise, and it's an absolute miracle. Like heaven's right here. I see the flowers grow. That's a miracle. I mean, smell the fresh air, feel the rain on your skin, and think, wow, it's so incredible to be in this realm and to be alive, and there is no death, and I'm having this experience, and there is no judgment. I'm going to move from this, and I'll tell you, when we pass from this life, we're going to be embraced by loving arms and simply asked, what did you learn? Tell me about what you learned in your experience. What was it like to be like that? What was it like to be you? What was it like to have this or not have that? And it's all going to be a collective oneness of, wow, look what we learned. Look what we created. Look at the uniqueness. And we'll realize we always were one. We always were connected. It was just our inability to embrace it and realize it that held us back. It's difficult because so much of our society just struggles day to day. It's hand to mouth. How do I survive? How do I make enough money to pay the rent and to put groceries on the table? There's no time or energy for how do I assist others? How do I make a difference in the world? I've found a key for me, and it's if I can take only 10 minutes a day. I mean, I'd rather take an hour, but even 10 minutes to be still and just reconnect. Like, always be connected. Just remember that connection. Remember who I am. Remember that everything's in divine order, and let go of the fear. Let go of the contention. Let go of that doubt that there's not enough. We live in such fear that there's not enough. There's not enough money. There's not enough food. There's not enough time. There's not enough love. And yet, if we can let go of that and realize there is enough. And I think the key for me was realizing that I'm enough. I'm enough. I mean, I limp around on one leg and I do the best I can, but I am enough by simply being me, by simply showing up in light, in love, and loving the people around me and taking care of those around me. And when I say taking care of, just energetically, I will probably never make enough money. I'll probably never have. But then again, what's money? It's just energy. I've had lots of money and I've had nothing. And it didn't make me any happier one way or the other. I mean, there's always that, well, I want more money, or I need to make more of this, or if I only had more money, I could get that. They're just things. They're just things. I remember sleeping in the backseat of my car at one point when I was young. And I had nothing, but I didn't need anything. I mean, I was fine. Money is not who I am, and none of it is who I am. If I really get in touch with, I'm not the car, I'm not the house, I'm not the job, I'm not my partner, I'm not the shoes or the clothes or anything else. I am all of it. I am that I am. I am the divine. I am me, and me is enough just the way I am. And I can be my contribution in this universe without even trying, by just simply being me.
Be as you can be. Shine your light as brightly as you can. Embrace your uniqueness. Just realize who you are, get to know who you are, love yourself unconditionally, and just be yourself. And with those 5 things, I invite you to go and live your life fearlessly.
तेरे नाम मंगा दिन राती ना मैं ही शांत पाई ना मैं ही शांत पाई ना